Are you feeling the pinch of inflation? Do you wish you could stretch your dollar just a little bit further? I hope you'll stay tuned to hear some innovative ideas of how to combat rising inflation. Well, welcome YouTube friends and family to today's edition of the Wellness Homesteader. So, y'all, we are at a 40-year high for inflation. And I'm sure you've all felt the pinch, whether it's at the grocery store, whether it's at the pump, whether it's in your utility bills, whatever. Everything just seems to keep going up and up and up. And if we can't change the prices that things cost, what can we do? With a 9.1% inflation rate, I can pretty much guarantee you, if y'all are on Social Security, you know, we're not getting the increase that relates to the rate of inflation right now. So what you need to do is maximize the buying power of your dollar. So this year, I have been trying to do a low spend year or a lower spend year, and I haven't been entirely successful. It's been an interesting year to say the least, but I have identified some strategies and tips that I think will help you, and I wanted to share them with you today. All right, first tip, tend to your own home and your own needs. Now, if you own your own home, you can actually create an account on Zillow, and it will tell you what the value of your home is and whether it's on the increase or on the decrease. So right now, yes, I've been spending a little bit of money on some home improvement projects that will ultimately increase the value of my home and also help with the ability to sell my home should that become necessary. But it really goes beyond the physical place that you live. And I think one of the things we tend to forget is during inflationary periods, you may be thinking, well, I am not going to stock up and I'm going to use through my pantry. And guys, sometimes that becomes necessary from a financial standpoint. However, do you really think, other than incidental things like when eggs went way up in price, do you really think prices are going to go down 9.1% and you should wait until then to stock your pantry? I honestly doubt it. So while I highly recommend that you shop the loss leaders, so in other words, a store advertises something like, okay, Walmart, for example, Crest toothpaste, they sell it as a loss leader because they know if you come in and buy toothpaste, you're probably going to buy something else. Almost always works for me. So trying to identify, and I'm not saying run all over town and spend so much money on gas, but identify perhaps new places that you can shop or ways that you can shop. I often will go to Aldi first, and then whatever I can't get that's on my list, I then will go to Walmart, very focused, and go only in the grocery side and only get what's on my list. And that has helped me to save a little bit of money. Another thing alongside having a well-stocked pantry is be a good steward of your supplies. Periodically go through, make sure you're utilizing first in, first out, so you're putting the newer things in the back. Also, checking expiration dates when you do purchase items, whether it's a health and beauty aid or a food item, and also recognizing that many things can be used well past their best by date. And those best by dates can be somewhat deceptive to encourage you to use more or dispose of it and buy new as well. The next suggestion I have for you is to have a written and a tracked budget. So if you are a user of either a credit or a debit card, have you ever gotten to bank statement or credit card statement time and been like, what did I buy at Lowe's? Because you don't remember. So one way to combat that is with a written budget where you're tracking what you actually spend, and that way you don't get surprises at the end of the month. One of the strategies that I've done is I do weekly payments to my credit card. Now, I don't use the credit card a whole bunch, but there are times that I do need to use it, and it just makes sense. Within that same week, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pay that bill off. I never have to worry about interest. I pay all my bills online. I don't have any kind of penalty for early payoff, and that way I don't get surprises as well. And I also know, at least on a week-to-week basis, really where am I with my budget. If you write it down, you can identify things like overspending. You can find subscriptions or things that you're really not using that you're paying monthly for, especially if you use like an auto draft where they're just pulling it right out of your account. Things like your cell phone, or there's many things that you can set up that way. So take a look. I'm not suggesting that you don't utilize that service because it can help you avoid any type of late fees. Sometimes there is incentives like discounts on your bill if you do it that way, but just keep very close eye on what is being drafted out of your account. Now, I am not a financial advisor. I don't play one on YouTube, but I will tell you that right now in 2023, September, there are some savings opportunities. So you would always want to talk to your financial advisor or your financial institution, but many, many, many banks are offering certificates of deposit or CDs that are 6, 9, 12 months at 5% interest. So you're definitely not getting that on your savings. The one thing to know about purchasing a CD is you need to keep track of when it's going to come due. You want to know if it's an automatic rollover unless you notify them. You also want to know what is the penalty for early withdrawal should you have a catastrophe. And I would never suggest to you that you don't keep some spendable cash on hand as well. So don't invest everything. But we are not getting 5%, I guarantee you, from our savings account. Number 4, consider expanding your garden if you like to grow your own food. Now, there's a huge debate out there as far as, does gardening really save you money by the time you put money into your seeds or your plants if you're buying starts and your garden beds and the upkeep and the water and fertilizer? And then if you're preserving the electricity, if you're freeze drying or dehydrating, as well as, the cost for canning. What I can tell you is by saving seeds, by using my own made compost and chicken manure, I'm not spending a ton of money to grow the food. I do spend money to preserve the food for sure. However, I feel that the quality of the food and the nutritional value is better than anything that I can buy item for item. So growing organically, I would not be able to afford to pay store prices for what I can grow organically. This year, I grew, I'm sure, well over 300 pounds of tomatoes, all from seed. And other than a little bit of natural fertilizer, and I just looked outside and the girls are in the garden. So hang on, guys. The neighbors think I've lost my mind. Out there hollering at the chickens with the broom. They're afraid of the broom. Okay, so consider expanding your garden and keep it chicken-proof. So if you can grow your own food without investing a lot of money up front for structures, etc., I really do believe that it will save you money. Number 5, consider, after my off-grid experiment, consider either an off-grid day or a day where you're decreasing your usage of being on the grid, like gas, electric, even water. Maybe just a period of time during the day. Maybe from 5 to 7 in the evening, you put dinner on the table, and then it's, devices off type thing, no television, light a few candles, enjoy these great cool fall evenings. Number 6, hone your knowledge and skills. So as I shared, I'm getting some work done here. And one of the things that I am doing is I am trying to learn from, and I don't mean this derogatory, from the handyman that's doing all the work for me. And I have learned a lot, y'all, about how things are constructed, about the easiest way to remove, I don't know, nails that are stuck in whatsoever, so that those things that you can do for yourself and don't have to hire done, I'll be able to do myself. So utilize this time of being a little more frugal to get smarter, to become more skilled. So practice what you've learned. Learn to make soap and sell it. Learn to do a new skill that can become your side hustle. That can greatly help you when you're on a fixed income, like many of us are. All right, next, buy used. Now, I say that with a caveat. It's great if you can go to a thrift store, a secondhand store. Facebook Marketplace can be a good source to find things at a reduced cost if it makes sense for you. Certain things you're probably not going to want to buy used because the price of used versus new is very, very different. I don't know if you've all noticed on Amazon, many items, it'll have the price, and then if you scroll down, it'll say buy used, and it'll have all the options. So one of the things you might consider doing, let's just say, for example, you need a new weed eater. Your weed eater dies. Well, one of the first things you might want to do is reach out to family and friends and say, hey, my weed eater just died. Do you have one that you're not using or that you want to sell? I'm not saying be a mooch, but sometimes people are like, oh man, I've been wanting to get this out of my garage and find somebody that can use it. So it's always good to reach out there, then perhaps look at used options. And then if none of that makes sense, of course, then buy new. But I'm going to tell you, if it's not like an immediate need, okay, like I got to have a lawnmower because my grass is 10 feet long and the city's going to find me, right? That's an immediate need. But let's say it's something that you want more than what you need. One of the things that I've been doing is I will put that item in my Amazon cart. I do shop on Amazon regularly, and hit save for later. And I make myself wait, depending on the cost of the item, 30, 60, 90 days, wait for it to go on sale. One reason to do that is when you put something in your cart, when the price changes, Amazon will notify you of that. So I have been wanting an Echo Show, which is just, it's kind of like an iPad that you can stream YouTube on. You can, any streaming service that you have, like Prime Video, that type of thing, you can have it. I wanted it for the kitchen because I can't see the or hear the TV from the kitchen. And when I'm doing long preservation projects, I wish I had some form of entertainment. Do I have an iPad? Yes, I do. Will it do the same things? Pretty much, yes. Not everything, but pretty much. So I did a little research and I found out that Amazon is going to have Prime Days again in October. And that is the period of time that it's forecast to come way down in price. And also the Echo Show 15 is just 15.6 inches or something like that. They may come out with a new model that's a little bit larger, and that would also decrease the price. So it's sat in my cart for about 2 months since the last Amazon Prime days, before I realized how much I wanted it or thought I wanted it. And guys, I'm kind of over it. Like, I've lived my whole life without TV or entertainment in the kitchen. So sometimes just delayed gratification can help you make good decisions about being frugal, stretching your dollar, using that money you would have spent. And guys, the retail on it's $280. Spent it on something else instead. Another suggestion: go ahead and revisit your insurances. And this is something you should do regularly. I'm not going to speak to health insurance. I'm talking more homeowners or renters, and then your car insurance. If it makes sense for you and you have cash on hand, I'm sorry, guys, it's like chickens pecking at the door. It's crazy. If you have the cash on hand to raise your deductible and you're willing to take that gamble, see, okay, if I'm going to raise my deductible from $1,000 to $5,000, that's $4,000. How much is that going to decrease my bill? And amortize that. How many months is it going to take me to make that up in reduction? Does that even make sense? Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. But it's also good to talk with your insurance agent about, what are my options? Are there other companies that would quote lower for the same coverage? So it's always good to revisit it from time to time and not just renew, sign on the line because it's easy to do. Next suggestion is use cashback apps, guys. I have gotten so many Amazon gift cards. That's how I redeem my fetch points, just by scanning my receipts. That's all you have to do is snap your receipts. You get 25 points for every receipt, no matter what it is. And then if you buy a name brand something that is on promotion, you will get additional points. Sometimes if you haven't scanned for a while, it will give you bonus points if you just scan a receipt. So you can then in turn that into gift cards for 100 different places, suitable for regifting for Christmas as well. Another great one is Coopert. And I will leave these links in the description box below. Coopert is both a discount coupon and a cashback app. So once you download it to your device, when you go to shop, if that store is participating, Coopert automatically pops up. It will tell you if there's a cashback opportunity. You can hit activate now. And then it also will test all of the current coupon codes that it can find. I have saved a tremendous amount of money, and can also tell you that the cashback option definitely works. And I recently got $19 cash back. I went ahead and cashed it out and put it into my bank. So I can definitely say both of those apps work. Another one is Gas Buddy. So even if you don't want to go to a certain gas station because it has the best cash back option on Gas Buddy, it will at least identify for you what gas prices are. Yeah, I don't know when this is ever going to end. Gas here in Ohio is I filled up day before yesterday, it was $3.59. So it's creeping back up as it's done in the past. And that is something that will fluctuate, and therefore, consolidate your trips. Those are common frugal ways that everybody talks about. And I was trying to come up with some things that might be a little different for you. I'm going to leave you with some simple frugal habits. So I think I've stated this before. 40% of food purchased in the United States is wasted and either goes into the landfill or is disposed of in some way. Guys, that's terrible. So I'm not a good menu planner, meal planner. So what I've started to do is think about my week, and while I may not always write it down somewhere, every evening before I go to bed, I either make sure that I have leftovers that I'm going to eat the next day, or I'm thawing or planning at least what I'm going to eat for the next day. I don't mind leftovers. I don't mind a little bit of monotony. So that has worked for me, and I find that I'm wasting almost no food because of that. Get yourself a good spatula, guys. Scrape it out. Use every bit. Put water in that end of the ketchup bottle. That will make a difference for you too. If you only have this much left, well, guess what, guys? You have this much left. Don't waste it because it's hard to get out of the container or bottle. Also, speaking about leftovers, not everybody loves leftovers. Some days I don't want to eat what I have left over, but I do anyway. But think about ways you could repurpose leftovers. So recently I had made sort of a Mexican soup, a nice thick soup. While it was delicious, I was tired of eating it just as the soup. And I was trying to think of what I could do differently. And I actually had some tortilla chips, and I just used it as a dip, and it felt like a different meal. You can also freeze leftovers into like individual meals. And trust me, there will be a day you will be very grateful to thaw that out and eat it because you don't feel like cooking. Other simple frugal habits. I talked about waiting 30 days before you purchase something. Track your spending. And I talked about that a little bit earlier. It is so important that you're keeping track of what's going out. That way you won't get any surprises at the end of the month. I would also say try to focus on your success at making good use or being a good steward of the funds that you do have, not on the deprivation it brings. So when you're being extremely frugal and you're not eating out and you're not going out with the girls or the guys or whatever you like to do for fun, you might feel a bit deprived. And I like to turn that around and really focus on, I'm doing this for a reason. Look at all the money I've saved. Look at what opportunities I will have because I have this money. And also, guys, my final thought, keep a list of free things to do. Whether it's go to the library, it's a beautiful time of the year here in Ohio, go on a hike, have a picnic, have a movie night, where you paint your fingernails and eat popcorn. Well, those two things probably don't go together, do they? Where you pamper yourself a little bit. Being frugal does not mean that you have to be miserable and deprived. So I hope these tips might have given you a little bit of encouragement. We're going into the part of the year that I think can be the hardest on your budget because you start thinking about the holiday season, hostess gifts, Christmas gifts. What am I going to do? Wow, this is an added expense. Wow, my budget was balanced, but it isn't now if I have to make these additional outlays. So I hope this gave you some tips and tricks to kind of beat that 9.1% inflation. If you would do me a big favor and you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smash that like button. Drop me a comment below. What other frugal tips do you have that you'd like to share with the group? I'm sure everyone would love to hear about ways that you live a frugal lifestyle. I will see you all a little later this week, but until then, be healthy, be well, be blessed, and take care.